Welcome to the Woodpreneur podcast, the best podcast for the business and marketing side of the sawmill, lumber, and wood industry. What's a woodpreneur? If you have a business where you make money as a woodworker, sawmill owner, selling slabs, or a content creator, then you're a woodpreneur. My name's Steve Larosiliere, and I started Woodpreneur Life, Acres of Timber, and the Woodpreneur podcast just for makers, wood entrepreneurs, and small business owners just like you. We're on a mission to empower thousands of wood businesses to grow sustainably and put out great products. Each week, I interview makers, sawyers, content creators, and 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs that know the wood industry inside and out. With topics covering everything from the urban lumber movement, sustainable sourcing and design, we'll discuss the ins and outs of how to grow, monetize, and fully immerse yourself in the woodpreneur lifestyle. If you're a hobbyist, a full-time wood business owner, part-time entrepreneur who wants to become a content creator, or quit your day job to pursue your dreams, the Woodpreneur podcast is just for you. Thanks so much for listening. Now enjoy this episode. Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur podcast. This is your host, Steve Larosiliere. Today's guest is Colton Broadbent from Colton Broadbent Design. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm well. Well, I was just admiring your work on your website. Why don't you tell everybody about your background? How'd you get started in this business?
Of course. So, we're an architectural design firm. We've been around for it's actually 6 years this month.
Congrats.
So, yeah, thank you. We actually started right out of college. So I was 25 at the time, and just kind of did it freelance for a little while. Just kind of started to put my feelers out there, and business kind of just took off right away. So we've been on quite a journey. There are 11 of us on our team now, and
Incredible.
I'm yeah. It's been a lot of fun and a lot of learning how to run the team and everything like that. And so kind of have stayed here as creative director. So I design everything. Still, I'm involved with all the clients face to face, one on one, but we have a team behind us getting all of the getting everything done. So,
Do you ever bug out and pinch yourself that like you now have like 11 people that like you're responsible for and
yeah, I think so. My sister works with us. She's our executive director. So her and I run it together. And I think that she stresses out about that a little bit. I'm very optimistic, and I really, for lack of a better term, I just know that this is what I was meant to do. And so I have full confidence that we'll continue to grow, and we have continued to grow. We've never not grown, I guess. So maybe it's foolish optimism, but I don't really bug out about it. No.
that's awesome. I love where you said this is what you were meant to do. Was that the decision to name it you? Like how did that come about?
Yeah. So originally it was just me. So, I mean, not to go too much into like personal detail, but I live here in Utah. I grew up here, and I graduated college, and I didn't really want to leave. I'm not married, and I wasn't married at the time. And so I was like, I don't really want to leave Utah. I know the people here. I don't want to go move somewhere else. And so I just decided to kind of, rather than go out and join a big firm somewhere else, I was like, I will, I've always been passionate about residential. So when I started it was just me. So it was Colton Broadbent Design. I was designing. And it's actually right now you kind of mentioned right before we jumped on about the website. We're actually going through a rebrand right now, and we will be changing the name. So it'll still have Broadbent in it, but it won't be just me anymore. So,
That's cool. That's awesome.
yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
tell us about those first couple of years. How did you get your clients, and what I'm curious about is like how did you zone in like on what your secret sauce was? Like I like to call it like what's your 20%? Like what are the thing that you love or that you uniquely can do and 80% other people can do? What do you think that is?
Oh, that's interesting. Um, so I've always been really creative. I've always loved this industry. I would say the secret sauce, I guess, or what I think people come to us for, is we root all of our designs in the traditional values of architecture, and so we're focusing a lot on scale. We're focusing on the orders. We're keeping the rules, so to speak, but we're also being a creative. I think out of the box, and my background's actually in landscape architecture. That's my undergrad. And so I kind of feel like I'm a student and I think from the outside in rather than I think a lot of people are like very focused and they're like, this is what I do. I don't do anything else. And, our team and the way I've tried to train our team and myself is to be students. And so we collaborate with, we are the architectural firm that does the home.
Mm-hmm.
But we collaborate really closely with the landscape architects and with the interior designers. And so I would say our secret sauce is I feel like I'm a student, and that's like
Mm-hmm.
the culture um, of our community here at our little design firm is that we want to be the best, not to be better than other people, but because we think that design is worth studying and worth perfecting. And the great thing about design is it will never be done. There will always be new things to learn. There are new places to visit. There are new creative minds. So I would say just the passion, the attention to detail, and the willingness to learn is kind of our secret sauce.
That's amazing. I do love the creative process when it comes to designing, homes and spaces. And, appreciate that you said that you started in landscape architecture. The thing that I think about is like, how do you know, like, what does growth look like for you? Right? Like, what does, in terms of like you and your team, and it sounds like, just in a couple minutes that we've been talking, that you have a long-term horizon. Like, this is the thing that you'll constantly be building and designing. But like, what does you know growth look like for you?
That's a good question. I mean, yeah, I can't help but look in the long term. I'm 31, and so I'm that's the number one comment that we get when people meet me. They're like, "Oh, I thought you'd be like a 45-year-old, man." And I'm like, "No, I'm young, and I have a long ways. We have a long ways to go." And so, as far as what growth looks like for me, and I'm going to speak, I guess, on behalf of the firm, which is currently my name. Um, I want us to be one of, if not the best in the West, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
of architectural design. But I also think that a huge part of growth for me is I don't want to go like too much into like a history of architecture, but basically, residential architecture in the United States was really fantastic right up until the 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
1930s, and then World War II really kind of a lot of things happened, and the last great period of architecture really is the 1960s. Since then, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, we've really kind of gone off the rocker, forgotten all the rules, and especially here in Utah, where a lot of the development that was done during those periods of time. So
Mm-hmm.
we've got a lot of sins to repent of, if you will. And so I think one of my goals and one of the things I really want to grow into is helping change the culture of architectural design here and helping people to know that like we can have better, we can do better. You said you're in Chicago. Chicago
Yeah.
has great residential architecture in the outskirts of Chicago because it was built at a really great time for residential architecture.
Mm-hmm.
I would say one of my goals and my growth things is I want to usher in the Renaissance. I want to help
Mm.
people to kind of rediscover what is possible and why we should care about design in that way.
That's really, really cool. I love the vision. And if we were to break that down a little bit, like, what are the you know 2 to 3 things that you're doing in order to start get towards that path? Like, what do you think Broadbent as a company is doing to work to get there?
Yeah, so I think there's really three things. Like you said, I'll give three. Is one of them is architecture as like I mean it's such a it's a broad word. It can mean a lot of things, but regarding in the residential industry,
Mm-hmm.
um, there there needs to be somewhat of a it needs to evolve,
Mm-hmm.
because to become an architect in the old fashioned way, there was a certain amount of schooling, a certain amount of, you're under someone, and it wasn't as accessible. With the development of technology, AI, CAD software, BIM software, so many different things, Pinterest, the world has really just exploded open. And I think that's actually why we're having kind of a renaissance in our culture right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so now people have never had greater access to good design. So I think a part
Mm.
of that is to classify that not all opinions or not all design that's thrown out there on the internet is good design. So there does need to be, when I talk about the rules or, tastemakers, that's why I think, so that's maybe one element is like we have to evolve and be able to keep up with the onslaught of information that's going around about design. We need to be able to, I don't want to say harness it, because I think that it's actually really beautiful in growth. But that
Mm-hmm.
kind of leads me to point number two, which is education. And like I said, we're students of architecture, and I think that a lot of people don't know where to find great design principles or where they live. A
Mm.
great place to start, if you're curious, is go to Europe, and you're
Yeah.
gonna you're gonna you're gonna have a buffet of things there. So I would say adapting to new technology and to new resources. I would say uh, education, and that's a huge focus for us. And then I think the last one is creativity.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, as I referenced earlier, with the onslaught of information, photos, Pinterest, Instagram, there's so much. I think that it's really easy to like copy and paste. And the truth is that if you use that education, you understand the principles of why something is great, you can be truly inspired by it and then apply it appropriately in a really creative way. And that's what I try to teach my team to do, and also our clients, because we do focus on educating our clients on why we're making some of the decisions we're making. So
And it kind of sounds like I think I know where you're going towards this. Is kind of like on a simple level, tools like Canva have made everybody a graphic
a graphic
designer.
designer, yeah,
But
yeah.
there, and you can try to automate as much as possible, but when it comes to like function and design, when it even comes to architecture, there are rules in place, and there are rules in place for a reason. And you're aiming to build a company that not just perpetuates that, but like educates and it is inspiring both your clients and the communities that you are serving. Does that sound right?
Oh, for sure. And you bring up a really good point, is like, so Canva has made everyone a graphic designer. And I think the kind of the tidal wave that's coming in, that I think we're all, maybe trembling a little bit, is AI, and
AI.
what's AI going to do to the industry. And I actually listened to a podcast. So I'm like a design nerd, so I'm always listening to things. And huge inspiration for me personally is the interior designer based out of California. Her name's Kelly Worsler. I don't know if you follow
Yeah, yeah,
her,
yeah, yeah. I do.
but
Yeah,
she was on Jay Shetty's podcast, I think last year, and she was talking about how her team is gently bringing AI into their design process.
yeah,
And the truth is like the thing with technology and with growth is I'm not actually afraid of AI. People ask me like, oh, "Are you afraid AI is going to like take away your job?" And I was like, "No, I actually think AI is going to just make us all really good educators. So we're actually going to
yeah,
have time to focus on learning these principles and learning how to be good tastemakers, and not just being like, oh, I saw it on Instagram, I'm going to copy that and put that into my house." It's like AI is going to bring me, you know, 40 of the best images in the style that I like. And now I can study them. Now I can understand them, and I can look up the principles and find out why they're successful. And then I can apply them. I think that that's going to be the role of like the human being in design. It's not going to be to gather and find and source, because that's going to be done for us. It's going to be to curate, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love AI, and also knowing how to use it makes a big difference, right? And I feel like,
Hmm.
I don't think it's going to replace anybody aside from making having it be truly a tool to, because at a certain level, clients are always going to want to talk to the expert that went to school and has the track record in order for that to happen, right? And so I truly believe that it's a tool to enhance, same way that you design on a computer back, 50, 60 years ago, they were designing by hand, right? And so
Hmm.
it's just going to make uh, it's going to help facilitate, and you could probably iterate even faster because of it, right? And build different processes and workflows, and your capacity will enhance. Quick question is, what was your first major hire?
Oh wow. Well, so we actually had kind of a series of hires. So it was for me. It was the very beginning. I was there, and then my sister was kind of there part time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when things really started to grow, um, we hired on our project manager, Sarah. She was our first. Well, that's not true. We hired a few people that it didn't work out, to be
Yeah,
completely transparent.
for
We
sure.
didn't really know how to do that. But our first major hire was our project manager, Sarah.
Okay.
And then shortly after that, about a month and a half after that, we hired Whitney, who's my junior designer, kind of my right hand. And
Mm-hmm.
so those are kind of, and they're, so it's like me and my sister Ashley, we work together, and then Sarah's her right hand, Whitney's my right hand, and then from there we've just kind of built and built and built. So it's the hires kind of came really fast about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years
Mm-hmm.
ago. I don't even know what year is it, but and so we hired a lot, and then we hired a little bit more last year, and then I think we're going to try to stay here at 11 for a year or so. So
Yeah, yeah. What's the vision in the future?
as far as company size, or how do you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. Company size and projects, types of projects rather.
It's funny because we talk about this a lot internally. I think that my number one goal is I want to love this process, and we focused a lot on the client experience because
Mm,
the truth is like I got into this field partially because my parents were designing a home right at
mm-hmm,
the I had I was just barely starting college and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was really involved in the designing of the home. And to be honest, they had a really bad experience. Like they
mm,
didn't have a great, we had a lot of issues with the designers. We had a lot of issues with the builders. And that's not speaking like, I think that we were also tough as clients,
yeah.
because we would change things and everything like that. But I learned so much from that experience that like, and you hear that all the time. Oh my gosh, I just finished building a home and it was torture.
Mm-hmm,
And so we focused a lot on processes and making sure that we have 5 phases of design, we have sign offs, we have very clear expectations, super detailed documentation, all of these communication tools, because it's never, in my opinion, no one's ever intending to go out and do a bad job. They either
yeah.
lack the skill set, which we don't lack, or what happens the most time is they lack the communication. And so
Yeah.
we focused a lot on the communication. So in a very round, long way of answering your thing, I do want to grow. I think we will continue to grow, but I would say like the speedometer is if it ever feels like we've grown so much that the quality were to be lacking, or I would lose passion to be leading this team and training new employees into design. Um, that's when I think I'd want to maybe peel it back. But I think the sky's the limit. We've talked about product development. We've talked about, how many employees we want. Some of the great architects here, residential wise, they have multiple offices in different states. I could see us
Mm-hmm.
having that one day. And I hope to, see that.
That's cool. That's really cool. I think what I've sort of gotten from our conversation is just the process and the appreciation for the long term and the impact. Because, like, everybody's, not everybody has gone through like a a a build, right? Where the whatever the experience was, and there's always room for improvement in the experience, right? And so, like
Of course.
the customer journey and the appreciation for the long term is probably what I got from our talk. Quick question: was there a project that when you took on, you were like, wow, like it reinvigorated you to the point where you're like, oh my god, I start to see the future of where my business is heading. Could you talk a little bit about that project?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, we've had so many great projects, but I guess I'll focus on one specifically because I think it was one of the first times that I realized how it's interesting. So we run a business, as do
Hmm.
you, as do millions of people in this country,
Yeah.
and a lot of people, it's like, okay, I got to get in, get out, make my money, and you respect that because that's they want to live and everything. And so I think sometimes it feels to me, I have like a very, I've always wanted to have like a moral reason to do what I'm doing
Yeah.
and the truth is that I design luxury homes for really, wealthy people for the most part, or
Yeah.
at least, I guess, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so when a couple years ago, I got this project, and it was a big project, and it was, really great builder. And I met this client, and they had a really healthy budget, and they really wanted to do something special. And through that process, I got to know these people, and I'm not shy about this. I tell them they inspire me, and they
Mm,
are really great people. They serve their community. They create jobs for thousands of people here locally in the state. And
incredible.
so, and they work really hard. They're a husband and wife team, and they work really hard to make a beautiful life. And they're so much fun. They love each other so much. They're great parents. They're all these things. And so what I found is like I can serve people that can really help a lot of people. They
Yeah.
can create jobs. They can, be really philanthropic. And so I would say that was maybe the first time when I was like, wow, I can actually make an impact because I can serve these really influential people that can make a big difference in the world. And I
Yeah.
can also give them, they're very generous. So they're going to have people over, and just like, the old families in the Renaissance, I guess, where it's like they'd have people over to their homes and people were inspired, and therefore they went out and created more beautiful art because of what they
Mm,
saw in these homes and the art pieces. And so it was kind of when I was like, oh, I can really help these people who are just really fantastic. And so many of our clients are like this. We've got the most like kind, successful clients. And to be able to create something for them that they couldn't maybe necessarily do themselves, was really rewarding. So I think that was when I was like, yeah, this is it. I kind of reinvigorated my purpose, I would say. So
you know what I appreciate about that? Like, it's kind of like there are more than one. There's the way to help people. Well, let me see if I could say this the right way. I thought that the way to help people was to start a charity.
yeah.
And it wasn't until I realized that, oh, if I can help grow somebody's business and they make more money, then their life improves, their community improves, and they have more capacity and resources to help other people. And from what I heard from what you just said was like, you help these people who are hyper successful, and if you can create the environment in which their life elevates, they can then have a greater impact.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And I'm with you on that. And the truth, like one of the quotes that really inspires me is Winston Churchill said, I might not say this 100% right, but he said, we shape our buildings and thereafter they shape us.
Yeah.
And I think that that's, I even get chills when I say it sometimes because I do think it's when I talk about the importance of architecture or the importance of creating beautiful things, it's not just to show people like, oh, wow, we have beautiful things. Look how great we are. It's because when you're in a great space, you feel more inspired. You feel
Yeah.
like your dopamine goes up, you know, all of the things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
like we need to create, like we kind of wonder like, why are we so depressed? It's like, well, look, our buildings everywhere look like horrible because they're not
Yeah.
following any architectural principles and they're just slapping them up. That's
Yeah.
not good for your mental health. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those things. Everything, I mean, design is really holistic. And so it's like we look at outside and like we're inspired by trees. And then like we need to build buildings and build beautiful things that complement like the beauty of nature and the beauty of humanity and our bodies and all, you know, all of the things. So I could go on, but kind of that's what I think is, that quote's always really moved me. And so I align with what you were saying there.
Yeah, that's on your website. Yeah, we
Yep. It is.
yeah. Cool. That was awesome. You are a design nerd for sure. You
I know. I'm probably
no,
talking your ear off going
yeah,
in so
no,
many
no, that's
directions.
I appreciate that you're legit. So so tell me what uh this is a part of the podcast where I give you any marketing or business advice. Is there anything that you need help with or any challenge that you've recently come across that you could get some advice on?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. You kind of sent me the pre advice thing and or the pre kind of like the prompts, and I was thinking about this. One of the things that we're doing right now is, you know, all of our work has been word of mouth and continues to be word of mouth, and that's where we get most of our clients. But now that our company has really kind of secured and like become more stable, that's the word I'm looking for, more stable, we're looking to kind of up our Instagram presence and our online presence. You know, we don't have that many followers and that's totally fine, but it kind of leads into the education aspect. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, what we're talking about as a team is a lot of what happens in this company, and a lot of this comes from like my perspective. That kind of sounds gross to me, but that is kind of what we've talked about. Is like, oh well, people want to know your perspective, they want to know why you've designed it this way and all these things. And I'm so busy in a day, I'm so busy designing all these things that it's, you know, to get online and try to share my voice and try to, you know, get educating, for lack of a better term, it feels really daunting. So I think my advice that I'd be interested to hear from you is like, how have you had social media or on, you know, a presence online or website, or, you know, you have this podcast. Obviously, you guys are in a lot of different areas. What is how have you made that not like overwhelming and not take over your life? Like, are there any tips and tricks of things that you've done to do that?
That's great. And so I love that questions. And so one of the things that I have done was to build an infrastructure around that. And so, you know, I have an editor, I have a an assistant that helps with the scheduling. The editor kind of is knows my tone and voice and is able to take big. So, but part of it is like having leverage. So one of the things that I've and the trend really is right now is about not being as polished as it was before. Things don't need to be as perfect. And
Yeah.
so, you know, even uh if you have the phone near you and you're in a meeting, just start recording, right? And just make sure that the sound is good. And then create a process and a workflow where you just upload it to, at the end of the day, you upload it to a Google Drive and then an editor can do it. Part of the biggest, and then the other part too is like, because it's your name on the building, to be able to just like periodically just share as much as possible and dedicate a time to the education, because an educated client is way better than one that you have to constantly educate. And so like if you take a look at all of the questions that your clients always ever ask you, period, and you dedicate an hour a week to just answering those types of questions, in terms of a long form video. So like I'm using Riverside right now. So like you can use Riverside. And then at the end, you just have an editor and use an editor from, a virtual assistant editor from the Philippines or Pakistan or India to just edit it in a way. And that's like the first level. The next level, as you start to see more and more return, is to like invest in, I saw the video where somebody was recording you doing your
Mm-hmm.
thing. You keep doing that. That is totally. And in I'm gonna text you later, but I just started following this woman. She is like a quote unquote influencer in the volleyball space, and you should see
Okay.
her her content is so captivating. I'm like, I'm not even really into volleyball, but she made me care about volleyball. She made me care about like her space. And I'm following her strictly because I like her playbook and I would like to replicate it for myself and for my clients. But like that, it, and you need to do more and more of that so that you can start to gain a perspective and your own voice. Like your voice is only right now for your team and your
Mm-hmm.
clients, and it manifests in your work. However, if you are able to articulate your voice just like this, like this is the what we're doing right now is the next level of skill for a creator. Like you're not just an architect, you're not just an entrepreneur, you're a creator. And what do creators do? Creators take things and communicate out to the public and bring people along their journey, right? And it's the reason why like Mr. Beast is who he is. He creates things out of nothing, but the only reason why he's a creator is because he's able to create media as a result of it, right? And that is going to differentiate you from every like there could be somebody right now that could fall in love with you and they are in Austin, Texas. They literally fall in love with you. They know all of your work, they know everything, but you're not there to serve them, right? But just imagine if you start doing that and you start building this infrastructure, and the infrastructure really is like you start recording everything because even the little things that you don't think that are important because they communicate your value. And then you hire a low cost editor to just edit and be okay with the messiness. And the more you do it, the more refined you will be at communicating your vision out. And then if you create long pieces of content, then those long pieces will turn into articles, which will help with your search engine optimization. They will turn into ads that you can use to run Google and Facebook and Instagram ads to your ideal target audience, right? And so like it's people are would be shocked to know how easy it is to actually position yourself as number one in your market. It is
Mm-hmm.
not that difficult because nobody's willing to go that extra level to out educate their audience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks. That's helpful.
Cool. Yeah, I'll send you like a little checklist playbook for you to to just do. It's very very simple for you to do it. And I started to do it, and I've started to see like really big results and a more authentic, less polished, more greater connection way. And you're there. I see your captions. They're great, right? Like, and so like the next level is just like, just do more of it. You know what I mean? Just do more. And you combine that with the beautiful photos and the beautiful walkthroughs and the beautiful process and your team, like all of it, you know?
Great. No, thank you. I really appreciate that. It's exciting to. I mean, like you said, I'm a total design nerd, and so
Yeah, yeah.
I want to. It's fun to talk to new people about it and kind of spread the word, so to speak. So.
Awesome. Tell everybody your website and your Instagram.
Oh, see this is how bad I am. So it's coltonbroadbentdesign.com, I think is the website.
Yeah.
And then the Instagram is just C Broadbent Design.
Awesome. Colton, thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to getting your story out to the Woodpreneur community.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Steve, and thanks for reaching out. And I appreciate the opportunity.
Cool. I love your background. I love the room that you're in. It's really cool.
Oh, thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. Take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.